Section 18 marks a departure away from our lengthy conversation on freight consolidation, whereby we're still talking about air import service models, but as we see in our title, we're moving over to direct shipments, a pretty important part of the overall air import service model. Direct shipments, as they're called, are completely different from consolidated shipments for a bunch of different reasons. First bullet, an option to the freight consolidation model is what's called a direct shipment, or a DAWB, a direct airway bill. We'll point out in our sub-bullet that the airway bill format, it's exactly the same as a house airway bill, but only issued a direct airway bill number from the airline. The reason for that we can see in our second bullet. Freight that is shipped under a direct airway bill is not part of a consolidation, so there isn't going to be a house airway bill number or a master airway bill number for that matter, only the direct airway bill number itself. As one might imagine, one of the big differences financially between a consolidated shipment under a house bill and a direct shipment is the cost. Direct shipments are much more expensive than consolidated air freight shipments. That's because, as we see in our last bullet, direct shipments are subject to rates published in the TACT. We talked about the TACT a number of times. That's the air cargo tariff, which provides published tariff rates between airport pairs around the world. Back in the day, the TACT was only available as a hard copy publication, a big giant book, basically analogous to a phone book in terms of size. And every air freight forwarder had a couple of copies of the TACT on their desks in the operational area of an office. These days, as we see in our image on the right, the TACT is also available online. It's a subscription-based service, but an important one. Any air freight forwarder that's serious about air freight forwarding is going to have access to the TACT, either hard copy, online, or both. The bottom line here, we've said it a couple of times, TACT rates are published tariff rates. They're non-negotiable, and as such, they're more expensive than consolidated air freight. One might also think that because they're more expensive, they have certain advantages to a consolidated shipment, and that is true. Let's see what they are. The first big difference is that freight moves on a priority basis. If a U.S. importer is paying top dollar for a direct shipment, goods are going to be shipped as booked. Second, we kind of mentioned this already, direct shipments, they're not part of a consolidation, and as such, are not subject to any potential delays due to issues with other shippers' cargo and documents in a consolidation. That direct shipment stands alone under its own direct airway bill, not linked or affiliated with any other shipper or U.S. importer in a consolidation, because there isn't a consolidation. Third bullet, the shipment moves in its entirety. We talked a lot about the potential for partial shipments in a consolidation, where goods are moved across a number of flights, and the problems inherent to that type of situation. Direct airway bills, direct shipments, avoid that too. As a trade tip, we talked a bit about the TACT. Let's talk now about flight information for specific city pairs being found in another publication known as the OAG, the Official Airline Guide. This was the second publication that all air freight forwarders had to have on their desks along with the TACT in hard copy form, the OAG, because it tells us specific city pairs, flight schedules, and carriers around the world. As we see on the right, this is an online version of the OAG, which actually shows flights going out of San Francisco to multiple destinations around the U.S. The OAG is a global publication. It covers airport pairs in any mix from anywhere to anywhere around the world. Very helpful when determining next flight available, especially for direct shipments. What are some of the circumstances warranting a direct shipment? Stating beforehand that the image on the right, that's what a direct airway bill looks like. It's the exact same thing in terms of format as a house bill and a master bill. It's just filled out a little bit differently. On the left, we have our circumstances that could warrant a direct shipment, paying that extra money to get goods moving. First, dangerous goods. Dangerous goods are a unique situation outside the scope of our discussion. But the reason why dangerous goods go on direct airway bills is because they can't be part of a consolidation. It's against IATA rules to have dangerous goods and a consolidation. They have to have their own direct airway bill. Second, could be perishables. If we're a U.S. importer bringing in cherries from Asia, we really don't want them mixed in a consolidation. Perishables should go on their own direct airway bill as well. Live animals, definitely direct airway bills. Unfortunately, human remains as well. Another situation, not as well known, but letters of credit, depending on the nature of the negotiation within a letter of credit, can stipulate that an air freight shipment be under a direct airway bill. That's not unusual within the world of letters of credit. And probably for our purposes, the most important, the most relevant at least, are time-critical shipments, where we as an importer have to get goods in quickly. We don't have time to screw around or put ourselves at risk in a consolidation. We need our stuff now. Pay the extra money, put it on a direct shipment, and we get our stuff in the shortest amount of time possible. Let's bring that theme to life through a real-world example for a line-down situation. A line down meaning that a production line is down and we have to get it back up and running as quickly as possible. You are the air inbound logistics manager for a company in Delaware that manufactures equipment used in the production of pharmaceutical products. It is Wednesday morning, and you just got a call from your VP of manufacturing stating that a production line is down due to a faulty part and the plant has no spare parts in stock. Every hour that the line is down costs the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what is the fastest and most reliable way to air freight the spare part in from Japan? Second paragraph. An air import consolidation for the spare part is too risky given the time-sensitive nature of the shipment and the amount of money that's being lost for every hour that this production line is down. Second sentence. As the inbound logistics manager, you can notify your freight forwarder in the U.S. about the urgency of this shipment and instruct them to work with their origin office in Japan to import the part on a direct airway bill basis. Your company will have to pay the tacked rate, but the cargo will not be shipped with other consolidated freight and it will move as booked due to the higher freight rate that you are paying. To be safe, the forwarder should make a notation in the special instructions area on the direct airway bill to the effect of line down situation, freight must move as booked. That's the middle part of the airway bill we spoke of some sections back where special instructions can be placed. This is an example of that. If we think a little bit more about this shipment, the manufacturer is in Delaware. The goods are coming out of Japan. Let's suppose it's Narita coming out of Tokyo. We as the importer also have to think about what's the closest airport we can bring this spare part into so we can get it quickly. Maybe for Delaware, depends on where in Delaware, but Washington, D.C. might be a good option. Philadelphia might be a good option. Depending on the size of the spare part, we can use a passenger flight, of which there are many, one would think, going from Tokyo to Washington, D.C. The other factor is, once this spare part is confirmed on board the aircraft, we can do a wheels-up clearance through U.S. Customs and Border Protection to clear the part before it even arrives. Get it, hot-shot it down to the plant in Delaware, and off we go. This is where a direct airway bill can bring a lot of value, because the increased expense of shipping under a tacked rate versus a consolidation rate pales in comparison to the amount of money this company is losing because the line is down. This is really about opportunity cost, if we're to think about it. That will wrap up Section 18. And we're really coming into the home stretch in terms of our entire module on air freight, because when we come back, we're going to get into best practices for U.S. importers working with air freight forwarders. Do return as quickly as you can.